It was the first time you accompanied Jungkook to a high-profile media conference after the proposal. You stood by his side, feeling out of place in the room filled with flashing cameras and murmurs. Jungkook stood tall and confident, but he kept glancing at you, his sharp eyes catching every flicker of discomfort on your face. While you were in deep thought, still processing the thing that made you be in this position, with your own boss being his wife. Few days ago, for the past few days, Jungkook's mood had been darker than usual. His jaw set tight and his brows furrowed in constant frustration. The staff exchanged worried glances as they were careful not to upset their boss further. You were in the kitchen slicing fruit for his morning juice when you overheard the housekeeper whispering to one of the guards. Did you hear about rumors? They are saying Mr. John is seeing Mr. Hunt's daughter. Your hands froze mid-slice as you listened. Ridiculous, the guard replied with a scoff. The boss barely tolerates outsiders. He let alone some spoiled businessman's daughter. Still, the whispers continued, and curiosity gnawed at you. Jungkook had been unusually snappish lately, but you chalked it up to work stress. Now you weren't so sure. You finished preparing the juice and carried it to his office, knocking lightly on the door before stepping inside. Jungkook sat at his desk, his dark eyes glued to his phone screen, a deep scowl etched onto his face. He barely glanced up when you entered, but his fingers paused there a moment as though your presence had momentarily calmed him. Your juice, sir, you said politely, placing the glass on his desk. He looked up then, his sharp features softening slightly. Thank you. You nodded and turned to leave, but his voice stopped you. Wait. He turned back surprised. His eyes lingered on you for a moment longer than usual, his expression unreadable. Sit down, he said, motioning to the chair across from him. You hesitated, unsure what he wanted, but obeyed. Is something wrong? He exhaled deeply, running a hand through his dark hair. There's been an issue, he began, his tone measured. You have probably heard the rumors by now. You nodded cautiously. About you and Mr. Hunt's daughter? His jaw tightened. Exactly. They are baseless, but they have already started to damage my reputation. And in this line of work, perception is everything. You frowned, unsure where this conversation was headed. I'm sorry to hear that, sir. Jungkook's gaze sharpened, and for a moment he looked almost vulnerable. Then he leaned forward, his voice soft but firm. I need to put an end to this. You blinked in confusion. How can I help with that? He hesitated, as though weighing his words carefully, then with a confidence that left no room for doubt, he said, Marry me. Your eyes widened in shock. What? Marry me? He repeated, his tone steadied. If I'm engaged or better at married, the rumors will die out. No one will question my character or my loyalty if I have a wife by my side. You stared at him, your mind racing, but why me? I'm just a caretaker. His eyes softened, a flicker of something unspoken passing through him. Because I trust you, he said simply, and you are the only one I would want in this position. Your heart raced at his words. You had been harboring feelings for Jungkook for months, but you never imagined he would propose, especially not like this. I don't know what to say, you admitted, your voice barely above a whisper. Say yes, he said, his tone almost pleading. I'll take care of everything. You won't have to worry about anything. You hesitated, your emotions warning within you. On one hand, this was a dream once come true, a chance to be with the man you loved. On the other, his reason seemed more practical. But when you looked into his eyes, you saw a flicker of vulnerability that he rarely showed. All right, you said finally, your voice trembling. I'll marry you. A rare smile tugged at the corner of his lips, and he nodded. Thank you, Juan. You won't regret. Before you could think further, as soon as the reporter's flashes became overwhelming, you instinctively raised your hand to shield your eyes. That's when Jungkook slammed his hand on the table. Enough, his voice boomed through the hall, silencing everyone. The room froze as he glared at the photographers. Turn off those damn flashes. Can't you see they are disturbing her? The journalists exchanged nervous glances before obediently switching off their cameras' flashlights. You blinked in surprise, turning to him. Jungkook, it's okay. You didn't have to. I don't care, he said firmly, his jaw tightening. You're with me, and I won't let anyone make you uncomfortable. Your heart fluttered at his protectiveness for the rest of the event. His hand brushed against yours every so often, a silent reassurance that he was there for you. One quiet evening, Jungkook wandered into the kitchen to find you cooking dinner. You hadn't expected him to be home so early, so you were startled when his deep voice broke the silence. What are you making? He asked, leaning casually against the counter, his sleeveless rolled up to his revealed tattoo forearms. Oh, just pasta, you replied, trying to ignore the way his presence made you nervous. He smirked. Mind if I help? You hesitated, glancing at him. Do you even know how to cook? I can learn, he teased, stepping closer. The next hour was filled with laughter as Jungkook fumbled with the ingredients, accidentally spilling flour on the counter and himself. You couldn't help but laugh at his cluelessness. At one point, as you leaned over to taste the sauce, Jungkook reached out and tugged a stray strand of hair behind your ear. The simple gesture made your cheeks warm, but you quickly turned back to the stuff, pretending not to notice. By the time dinner was ready, the kitchen was a mess, but neither of you cared. You sat together at the table, sharing the meal and trading playful banter. For the first time in weeks, it felt like you were truly connecting. One night, unable to sleep, you wandered out to the garden. The cool breeze brushed against your skin as you looked up at the stars, lost in thought. Couldn't sleep, Jungkook's voice startled you. You turned to see him standing a few steps away, his hands in his pockets. What are you doing out here? I saw your light on, he said simply, stepping closer. Thought you might need some company. The two of you walked through the garden in comfortable silence. Jungkook's hand brushed against yours a few times, but neither of you acknowledged it. Do you ever think about what life would have been like if things were normal? You asked suddenly. I don't know about normal, but I think I'd still want you to be part of it because I can't leave this mafia world, and you too. He glanced at you, his gaze softening. You looked at him in surprise, but he quickly looked away, pretending to examine a flower. Come on, he said, changing the subject. Let's go sit by the fountain. As you sat together, the sound of water trickling in the background, you felt an unspoken bond forming between you. One afternoon, you were caught in an unexpected downpour while running back home. By the time you returned to the mansion, you were drenched, shivering from the cold. Jungkook was waiting by the door, his brows furrowing as soon as he saw you. What happened? He demanded, pulling you inside. It started raining, you said sheepishly. Without a word, he grabbed a towel and draped it over your shoulders, his hands lingering for a moment. You're going to catch cold, he muttered, leading you to the couch. As you sat down, he disappeared into the kitchen and returned with a steaming cup of tea. Drink this, he ordered, his tone firm but caring. You couldn't help but smile at his concern. Thank you, Jungkook. He avoided your gaze, scratching the back of his neck. Just don't scare me like that again. Huh? You said as you were unable to hear him, but he just smiled while you mumbled, idiot, under your breath. Wait, let me bring you a napkin, he said and went into the kitchen, but soon he started calling you. Sweetheart, come here. Hearing him call you sweetheart for the first time, your heart fluttered, and you walked towards the kitchen with a big, blushing face. Yeah, you said while he faced you with a pout. I can't find the napkin, he said, stepping closer. It might be under the counter, you said, and was about to walk towards the counter but noticed his eyes stuck on your lips. Jungkook, you said, and he stepped closer to you, eyes still stuck on your lips. Jungkook, you whispered slowly as he was leaning closer to your lips. He just hummed and was about to attach his lips to yours. But he didn't want to make you uncomfortable, so he cleared his throat and stepped back, which made you to win and pull his collar, as you wanted to kiss him. But soon realization hit you that it's a contract-based marriage. So he stepped back and was about to walk away, but he pulled you and trapped you between his arms while putting your hands above your head. And he kissed your cheek as if asking for permission. You nodded and closed your eyes, but he didn't kiss you, and when you opened your eyes, feeling shy, he gave a sweet peck on your forehead. You look so beautiful, my love, he said, and you blushed hard. He cleared his throat. The soup might get cold, he said while scratching his head, and you nodded before going back to the living room. The morning had passed in a blur, with you keeping yourself occupied at the office. You had started visiting Jungkook's company more frequently, greeting employees, checking in on various departments, and making small talk with the staff. It made you feel included in his world, and lately you had started to believe this world belonged to you too. As you stood at the front desk, flipping through a document while the receptionist typed away on her computer, a few employees passed by, bowing politely. "Good morning, ma'am," one of them greeted with a smile. You returned the greeting, nodding at them. "Good morning, how is the day going?" "Busy as always, but smooth," the man replied before heading towards his department. A sense of pride bloomed in your chest. You weren't just the Mafia king and CEO's wife. People respected you, and you had found a place in Jungkook's life beyond just being his spouse. But all of that shattered in next few minutes. Just as you were about to return to Jungkook's office to ask if he wanted to have lunch together, you noticed the door slightly ajar. His deep voice carried through the small gap, making you pause. You hadn't meant to eavesdrop, but something in his tone made your stomach twist with unease. "She has no idea, does she?" It was a male voice, his lawyer, you realized. "No," Jungkook replied, his tone unnervingly casual, "and she doesn't need to. The rumors about me and Hans' daughter are completely gone now, and the media believes the marriage is real. Everything is working perfectly." Your breath caught in your throat, your hands tightened into fist. As you took an involuntary step back, your heart pounding against your ribs. But Jungkook, the lawyer, continued, his voice dropping slightly. "What happens when she finds out that truth? You are playing with the fire here. If she realizes that this was all just to save your reputation..." "I'll handle it," Jungkook cut in sharply. "Why, trust me, she doesn't need to know that. It started as a business move." A cold shiver ran down your spine. "It started as a business move. Your entire world is tilted." The tender moments, the stolen glances, the warmth in his touch, had it all been calculated? Was it all just a means to an end? Your body wanted to move, to run, but your legs felt like lead. The lawyer's voice softened. "But it's not just about business anymore, is it? You're attached to her, aren't you? You like her, right?" There was a long pause. You held your breath, desperately waiting for his response. "No, You didn't want to hear any more. That no was enough. It was a lie, just a pathetic act to make the contract marriage seem natural." You turned on your heels and walked away, not bothering to hide the tears welling in your eyes. The once familiar office now felt foreign, suffocating. You wanted to scream, to break something, anything, but all you could do was walk out before you shattered completely. You stepped out of the building, your legs moving on their own, barely registering the polite nods from the employees passing by. Your vision blurred as unshed tears clouded your eyes, your breathing uneven. The weight in your chest grew heavier with every step you took toward the curb. A cab pulled up almost immediately, as if fate itself had conspired to get you away from the place that suddenly felt so foreign. You opened the door and slid inside, shutting it with trembling hands. "Where to, ma'am?" the driver asked, glancing at you through the rear view mirror. "John Mansion," you murmured, your voice barely audible. As the car pulled away from the towering office building, a silent tear slipped down your cheek. You quickly wiped it away, but it was no use. The moment you let one fall, the rest followed. Your fingers clenched into your lap, your nails digging into your palms as you stared out of the window, watching the city blur past. The streets were alive, people moving on with their days, oblivious to the way your world had just crumbled. You let your head rest against the cool glass, your mind replaying every single moment Jungkook had made you believe in him. The way he had tucked your hair behind your ear when you weren't paying attention, the way he had pulled you closer in his sleep, as if even unconsciously he didn't want to let you go, the way he had defended you in public as if you were the most precious thing in this world. Lies. It was all a lie. You swallowed down the sob, threatening to escape, biting your lower lip hard enough to hurt. How foolish had you been to think he truly cared, to believe that what he showed you was real. The cab slowed as it reached the mansion, its grand structure now feeling too big, too empty. You quickly wiped your face, inhaling deeply before paying the driver and stepping out. The moment your feet touched the pavement, a cold gust of wind hit your skin, but it wasn't enough to shake the numbness inside you. You walked through the front doors, your heels clicking against the marble floor as you made your way to the living room. Sinking onto the couch, you exhaled shakily. And then you waited for him to come home, waited to confront him, waited to see if he would try to lie you again. Your fingers gripped the armrest, your mind buzzing with the words of you wanted to throw at him, but no matter what, one fact remained. Jungkook had broken something inside you, and there was no coming back from that. Jungkook returned home late that evening, and you were waiting for him in the living room. The moment he stepped inside, you stood up, your expression cold. "We need to talk," you said, your voice trembling slightly. Jungkook frowned, sensing the tension. "What's wrong?" You crossed your arms, trying to steady yourself. "I overheard your conversation with your lawyer today." His entire body tensed and his expression immediately shifted to one of alarm. "I'm glad you did before I could tell you the truth." "So it's true, isn't it?" You interrupted, your voice rising. "This marriage, you pretending to love me, it was just to save your reputation." What are you saying, Wine? Let me explain." "You don't need to explain," you snapped, your emotions spilling over. "I trusted you, Jungkook. I thought this us was real, but all this time it was all just a lie to fix your image in the world." "It wasn't like that," he said defensively, stepping closer. "Yes, it started that way, but it's not like that anymore." "But you said you listen." "How am I supposed to believe you?" You shot back, tears streaming down your face. "Everything you have done, every kind word, every gesture, was it all just an act?" "No," he said, his voice desperate. "Wine, I never meant to hurt you. You are misunderstanding everything." He stopped, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "I fell for you. I didn't plan for this to happen, but it did. I love you, Wine. I should have set my limits. I should have remembered it's contract marriage, though you show your fake feelings. It's my mistake to trust you, and I don't want to hurt myself more. I cannot keep staying here and hurt myself for having feelings on you." You stared at him, your chest heavy with emotion. "You don't get to say that now," he said quietly, "not after everything." "Please," Jungkook begged, his voice breaking. "I don't know what you're talking about, sweetheart. Give me a chance to solve it all." You already lost me, you whispered, turning away from him. Jungkook's heart sank as he watched you walk toward the stairs. He couldn't let you go, not like this. When he called out, his voice filled with raw emotion. When you didn't stop, he rushed to block your path. Don't do this, he pleaded, his eyes glassy with unshed tears. Don't walk away from me. Why shouldn't I? You asked, your voice shaking. Even though it's just a contract marriage, you made me believe in something that wasn't real. You acted as if you truly loved me. Without saying anything, he held your hands and started taking you towards his office. After reaching the office, he went near his desk and while starting the computer screen, he scrolling something then showed you the footage of his office when him and his lawyer were talking. No, I don't like her, but I love her enough. She made this cold heart now lovable. Losing her is the only thing I can never afford. Not only in this life, but every life, he said, blushing a bit. I see Mr. Heartless Mafia now suddenly turned into a pookie, huh? The lawyer started teasing him. Now he stopped the CCTV footage in middle while scratching his head being shy and looked at you. It was real, he insisted. Maybe not at first, but it is now. You are the only person who has ever made me feel like this, and I need you, Wyan. I love you, he said again, his voice breaking. I have never said that to anyone before, but I mean it. I love you, and I can't lose you. Say something, he begged, his voice barely above a whisper. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry for not listening the whole conversation. You admitted, tears streaming down your face. I love you too, Jungkook. His shoulders slumped and he nodded slowly. I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you. I'm sorry for making my princess cry, he said. Just give me a chance, please. For a long moment, you just looked at him. Finally, you sighed, wiping your tears. One chance, you said quietly. Relief flattened his face, and he pulled you into his arms, holding you tightly. Thank you, he whispered, his voice trembling. I swear I won't let you down. At last, you both finally kissed. He stared at you before holding your cheeks in his hands and slamming his lips on yours before slowly kissing your lips passionately in a beautiful rhythmic sound. Thank you for watching. If you like the story, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel.